Now this one ended up fantastic. There is so much detail in there and so much depth. It was so easy to make, requires no skills at all. Hey you guys, I'm so excited. Today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful layered designs. This is laser cut wall art. And I think they're going to be really good sellers. I am going to show you many designs that I have made. And what we'll talk today, we'll talk about how to make these guys, from what to look for when you purchase a design, how to stain your wood without warping it, how to glue it without getting any squeeze out, even though some of these guys are very intricate. And it has very thin layers. And gluing it could be a challenge, but I have a few points for you that will make it really easy. So I'm going to show you how to glue up these guys, how to make a frame, how to attach the hardware. Everything you need to know, it's going to be in this video. So let's start at the beginning. Now, before I'm going to start talking about all this, let me show you a couple of wall art that I did, and then we'll talk about each one individually. I'm gonna tell you which one was the hardest one to make, which one was the easiest. So here is one really intricate, beautiful design. So that was the first one I have ever made. I have another one here that I just glued up this morning, and it doesn't have a frame yet, but I will make a frame for it. So this one has tons of layers. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. This is 10 layers. You can see them. Then I have the beautiful maple leaf. It's one of my favorites, and I think this one is going to be a great seller. I have made the kitty cats one. I really like this one. I think it's so cute. And I also believe this is going to be a great seller. And the last one I made, this is the last one I made. It's a cross. Lots of depth to it. I did stain my own wood there for that one to get it so colorful. And I'm gonna talk about that in a second as well. I was scrolling through YouTube the other day, and I saw a maker was making this kind of layered art. They were making them a lot bigger for wall art, and he was selling the designs. So I went on Etsy shop and I found his shop. I went to purchase one, but then when I read the small print in the description, it says you cannot sell the items you make with those designs. They are for personal use only, and you cannot sell them commercially. So I was kind of disappointed with that. I looked at his Etsy store and I saw he was selling the already made art, but he was charging between, they are bigger, let me tell you, they're like 30 by 40 inches or something, and he was selling them anywhere between $1,200 to $4,000. So I decided to scroll through Etsy and find a different person that will make this kind of layer designs. And it turns out that there are not a lot of people that make these designs that will allow you to sell your product commercially. They all says for personal use only into the description. However, I did find a shop that had some really beautiful designs. This is just a few of the designs that I bought from him. And he does allow you to sell them commercially. However, you do have to buy a commercial license, which is $30 per design. And you do not have to buy a commercial license until you sell your first piece. So there is no cost up front. The designs were very reasonable price, between $5 to $7. And I purchased a whole bunch of them at full price. And then, because I wanted to really make sure that I can sell my items once I make them, I contacted the seller and I wanted to clarify on how the commercial license worked. And then we got chatting, and from one to another, I told him I was going to make a video on how to make this stuff. And he was so kind, he gave me a coupon code Skylar. So if you use the link that I'll put in the description below, it'll take you to his shop. And then if you purchase these designs or the commercial license, if you use my discount code Skylar, he will give you 30% off. So that was very generous of him. So this kind of art, it's a layered art. That means we're using many layers to create depth. For the material used to make these designs, I chose to work with veneer plywood. This is 1/8" veneer plywood, and you can buy it on Amazon already in packets of different colors. As you can see, here is a walnut one, that's the first layer. Then this is a cherry one. I have maple. You can get it on bubinga, mahogany. There's all kinds of colors that you can purchase. I'll put link to these guys in the description below. These ones over here, I got them. They were 12 by 12 the size, but I got some rectangular one, bigger ones for my other art. So you can easily purchase this wood on Amazon or at your local craft store. I don't know, but that's where I got mine. So a piece of art has between 5 to 8, 9 layers, depends on which design you get. This maple leaf one has 2, 4, 6, 7 layers, for example. So the thickness of it ends up with 7/8. Now I pretty much use the veneer plywood for all my wall art except the cross. When it came to the cross, I used Baltic birch plywood, just 1/8" Baltic birch plywood, and I stained it. And if you just go to your local hardware store and buy some stains and try to stain very thin plywood, you will find that it likes to warp really, really badly, and it becomes pretty much impossible to cut. So what I used to stain this plywood, I used an alcohol-based stain. And I'll put the links to all of those in the description below. There are 3 brands that I love to use, and like I said, you'll find them in the description below. And alcohol-based stains, they work really well because it evaporates really, really quickly and does not, will not produce warping, or very, very minimum warping. Yeah, so it dries really quickly, so you can pretty much stain a piece, wait a couple of minutes, and it's ready to cut. You can stain, then cut, that's what I did, or you can cut it and then stain it. Whatever works for you. Now here is some example of, you can see it's just Baltic birch plywood, and this is what I use for the cross. This is the pieces that I already stained, and you do not need many color variants when you do this. You can just buy 3, 4 colors, and then you can start mixing them in between them, and you'll get variants of those colors. So as you can see, you can create many, many colors with not too many stains. So now that you purchased your design, you either stained your plywood or you bought veneer plywood. The veneer plywood, I think, retails for about $30 for a pack, and a pack has 6 pieces of plywood. So you'll need a little bit more than a pack to make one design. So now the next step is to cut your design, and if you have a laser, I'm not going to show you how to cut it with the laser because you probably already know how to do it. Very simple, just load the designed SVG files into your laser and cut it, and you end up with a bunch of loose layers like this. So now that you have all those loose layers, how in the world are you going to glue them without getting any glue squeeze out? When it comes to gluing up all these layers, we really have 2 choices here. We can use glue or we can use an adhesive. And pieces like this maple leaf, it's really easy to use glue because you have so much surface that you can put glue without a problem, the whole perimeter, and then clamp it, and this should be good enough. For the glue, I like to use this Well-Bond glue, and this Well-Bond glue, it's a really good glue. It pretty much sticks to any surface, and my favorite thing about it is that it dries completely clear. So if you do have a tiny little bit of squeeze out, it's not going to be very noticeable. You can see here I applied it with this roller, with this tray, and if I peel the glue out of my tray that was left over in there, you see it is transparent, so very, very clear. I discovered this glue when I was doing mosaic stained glass, and it will allow me to glue the glass and you do not see it through it. So this is what I use for gluing the maple leaf one, and also I use the same glue for the kitty cat because these 2 art pieces has a lot of surface that you can put glue onto it. Now this glue does dry super, super fast, so you have to work really quick. The roller helps with that, but you can also put them into these small squeezy bottles, and then you can just squeeze it very precisely because of this needle point, and that should make really quick glue up. Now, when it comes to gluing up a piece like this, things are different. We cannot use regular glue. It's no way you can glue all these tiny pieces. There's not a lot of surface to put the glue on, so then we have to use a different method for that. I have here just an example, one layer from that piece. As you can see, very, very thin. It would be almost impossible to secure all these pieces with glue. So how did I glue it? In order to glue those super tiny pieces, I use a special double-sided tape. This tape is made by 3M. It's the 300 LSE, and the number you have to look for it when you buy it. Like I said, I'll put this in the description below. You have to make sure it is the number 9495LE. And that is very important. 3M makes tons of double-sided tape. This is the strongest tape they have. It's very resistant to heat and moisture, and it's a permanent bond. That means when this thing sticks on, if you just lay it down on a piece of wood and you immediately lift it, you might be able to remove it, but the longer it stays on the surface, the stronger it bonds, and you will not be able to remove it. So permanent adhesive, and this works really well. It comes in different widths. I have here a 12-inch, which was perfect for all these arts because the width of my art is about 11 inches. So I just roll this in the back of my plywood. Now this adhesive, it is not cheap. It's $120 for the 12-inch roll. And when I made that one intricate piece, I used the whole roll. I was left with about 3 inches. So $120 went into that piece, just the adhesive, plus let's say $60 worth of plywood, plus I made a solid walnut frame. So we end up with over $200 in just materials. So once you have your adhesive, you pretty much lay it down on the back of your material, cover the whole thing, and then you laser cut it afterwards. Once you cut it, you end up with a layer like this. And then the tape, it's still on the back. You can see the tape. And then you have to peel this tape from the back. And you are left with a sticky adhesive. Then you can just tape it into the layer below. And you do that with each layer. So that is the way you glue up these panels. Now let's talk about the frame. All the people I saw selling this kind of art on Etsy, they sell it without a frame. It just looks like this, and then it has the dark edges from the laser burning. So it's totally acceptable to sell it just like this. However, I felt like adding a frame, it just completely elevates the project, makes it look complete, and also it makes it look a lot more professional. So I chose to make frames for every single one of my wall art. Now, to make a very simple frame, I have one here that is not glued up yet. I'm gonna show you how it works. Now, the simplest frame you can make, it's something like this. This is the profile of it. And I took a square piece of wood. I don't know, I think it was like 1.25 by 1.25, something like that. And then the first thing I did is I cut this bevel. I just cut it on the table saw, just a small bevel for decorative purposes on the top. And then over here, it's a rabbet. The rabbet has to be the width of your artwork. So then this is like 7/8 because it's 7 layers of 1/8 inch. So then when you put the art piece in there, it has to be flush. So it's gonna be something like this. So square piece of stock, made one chamfer over there, bevel just with the table saw, and then I put the rabbet and then cut the miters and glue it together, and you end up with a frame. So you see, not very complicated at all. Now for this piece of art, I did it a little bit different, and that's because I wanted to get a cleaner backing. So if you look at this one, it doesn't have a rabbet. It's actually the whole piece of art. It's encapsulated in a dado inside the frame, so you cannot take the artwork out. This is the way it is. And then for the hanging things, I use this kind of hardware, and I'll put a link to this in the description of it below. I think it makes it very, very professional looking, very clean look, and it really elevates your artwork to another level. Now, adding your frame to your artwork, it does 4 things. 1, it makes it look complete and more polished. It makes it look more professional. 2, it does make your artwork a little bit bigger, and a bigger artwork, that means it sells for more money. It does hide all your laser cut edges, which sometimes they're not as pretty, or if you maybe misalign them by a millimeter or something when you glue them together, that frame, it will hide that, and it's gonna make it look better. Adding a frame also, it will allow you to attach the hardware to the piece. If you look in the back of this artwork, it would look like you can attach the hardware there, but then if you put any screws through it, it might show through the front. So the sellers, when you purchase the designs, it does come with some laser cut files to make hanging things that you can just glue them on the back of your artwork. I chose to go with the frame just because I thought it looks a lot better and more professional. Now, the one other thing we need to talk about is finishing. You have to seal this artwork. You want to make it look finished, and for that, the best way to finish this I found was with spray finish. You can use spray shellac, you can use spray lacquer, you can use spray poly. I'll put links to all of those in the description below, but the spray will work the best because you will get between all those intricate pieces and everything will be nice and finished. So now that you know how to make this kind of stuff, it's time for you to get in your shop and start cutting designs and selling them and pay off for that laser that you bought and is probably collecting dust for now. Now, I hope this was useful to you and you learned something new. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Skylar Ewing and I'll see you in my next video.